Yes, finally out of debt. Oh no. Finally out of debt. I'm gonna ride my bike now. Oh no. Yes, finally out of debt. Oh no. I'm about to show you this amazing strategy that'll help you stay out of debt. So first things first, let's think about this thing like a GPS. The first thing a GPS does in order to reach its destination is to see where you're at right now. So all you have to do is write down your income, it's pretty easy to know, but also your expenses. Now this is a little bit more tricky. You gotta look into your bank statements no matter how intimidating or overwhelming it may be. This is so important because you can start seeing, the picture of your spending habits. A lot of us spend and we kind of forget what we buy. It's really shocking to see the bank statements. But this is awesome because you can see approximately how much you spend each month. So your income minus your expenses equals your cash flow number. And this cash flow number is what we want to increase. And surprisingly, cash flow is not directly tied to how much money we're making. For example, let's say that this first person makes $20,000 and they live a life of luxury. They have a lot of cars and big houses, and they go on vacations and buy expensive clothes each month, and their cash flow number at the end of the month is $500. That's all that's left. Let's compare him to the second person. They make $5,000. However, they practice intentional spending, they have a budget, they partake in free events around the town, and they cook at home. And because of all this, they have $2,000 left at the end of each month. So as you can see, it's not really about how much money we're making, but how much money we're keeping. So after you write down your income, you know your approximate expenses, and you know your cash flow number, that cash flow number is actually going to be how much you can save each month. And because you know this cash flow number, you can begin to pay yourself first. This means that the first thing you're going to do whenever you get your paycheck is you're going to set aside your savings before paying any bills, before anything. And you're able to do this confidently because you know you have money for those expenses to be paid. This is going to change everything, especially if you need a little bit of help being disciplined and actually saving. And if you comment cash flow, I'll send you my spending plan template that clients use not only to keep track of their cash flow, but also to increase and maximize it without having to work more hours. So priority number one that everybody should have is an initial emergency fund. I call it a ready fund because it's going to be ready for you when you absolutely need it. Now this is for emergencies only. This is not for new furniture, a new TV, nothing like that. Only for emergencies. Let's say your car breaks down, something like that. And for every savings fund that we're going to be filling up, we want it to have a goal. We never want to start saving without an end goal in mind. For this initial emergency fund, a good starting point is $1,000. If you have a bigger family, you might want to go up, or if it's just you, you can go down. But I think $1,000 is a great place to start. So you really want to be intentional about filling up this fund because it can mean the difference between having to go into debt or not having to. I know whenever I started to work, I would put some money away in savings, and then I would want to buy a shirt or something like that and take it out. And then I would, work, put a little bit more in, take it out. It would never be consistent. So now that you actually have a goal, it makes it a lot more, attainable, a lot more motivating to actually get it filled. Let's say we're bored and want to buy something just for fun. Now we can be like, okay, I'm not at my goal yet, let me not buy it. So it really adds just a level of awareness, and it helps to get it filled up when we have that goal that we're trying to get to. So you really want to try your hardest to be disciplined while you're filling up this initial emergency fund. If you know it might be hard for you, you can do automatic savings with your cash flow number. That way you don't even have to think about it. So now that your ready fund is nice and full, now you can start filling up some plan ahead funds. Some people call it sinking funds, but I call it plan ahead funds just because we're planning for things that we know are going to happen in the future. So the first plan ahead fund that I think everyone should have is just a general plan ahead fund. You can save for things like birthdays, holidays, events, weddings, things like this. So the best way to know how much you should put in this fund is to write out a list of all the things that you have coming up in the year. All the birthdays, holidays, and stuff like that that you know you're going to have to spend money for. Write down each event and how much money you think more or less you're going to have to spend. After everything is written out, get that total, and that total is going to be your goal. So with the cash flow money that you are using for your initial ready fund, you can start directing it to this general fund. So that way whenever an event or a birthday comes up, you already have the money that you need ready to go. So the cool thing about the plan ahead funds is that you can have as many as you want. So let's say that you want to buy a house. You can have a house fund. Let's say that you want to go on vacation. You can have a vacation fund. You can have a car fund, a car maintenance fund. Really anything that you want, anything that you want to save for, you can make a plan ahead fund for. And it's awesome because it keeps everything organized and you can see the progress and everything. It makes it so much more fun, I guess, to reach those savings goals. So while we're on the topic of plan ahead funds, There are two types. So there's a reoccurring and an end date fund. Let me give you an example of an end date fund. So let's say I want to buy a car and the car costs $6,000 and I want to buy that car in 8 months. So all I have to do is divide 6,000 by 8 and I get 750. So that means that each month I have to put $750 into that car fund in order for me to reach my goal of $6,000 at the end of that 8 months. And then I'm able to buy that car outright, which is awesome. And because I'm paying cash, I might be able to get a discount. Now for a recurring fund, I'm going to use my car maintenance fund as an example. So every month I put about 85 bucks into this fund, and that is meant to cover inspections, registrations, oil changes, taxes, things like that. Things that I know are going to happen each year. So as long as I have a car, I'm going to have to put something aside in that fund each month just because I know these expenses are coming. If you comment savings below, I'll send you a list of different savings funds that you can have for your reference, and also a template where you can write upcoming events, weddings, birthdays, holidays, so that way you can figure out how much you need to fill up your plan ahead savings fund. So now that you know more about savings funds, you might be wondering, where is the best place to store these funds? Well, let me tell you, it's not in a traditional savings account, that's for sure. The interest rates on those things are definitely not the best, and I would not recommend anyone keep your money in that type of savings account. However, what I do recommend is opening up a high yield savings account. You can easily earn more than 4% on your money just for having it sit there. Now, I've tried a couple, but my favorite by far is Ally. One of my favorite things about this bank is that instead of having to open up 5, 6 different savings accounts, all you need is one, and you can divide it up as many times as you want. And you can also open up a checking account and they'll give you a debit card, so that way you have really easy access to these buckets. Now, I mentioned earlier about automatic savings. With Ally, you can do that. So make sure to do your research and pick a high yield savings account that resonates most with you. After you fill up your ready fund, your plan ahead funds, now you can start with your ultimate emergency funds. And this should consist of 3 to 6 months of your expenses. And this is great just in case you were ever to lose a job or you incur a really huge expense. You don't have to go into a huge debt. You're able to cover it yourself. And in my opinion, the best place to store this is your own personal banking system, because not only are you able to earn a good amount of interest on this, guaranteed, but you're also able to access this money tax-free without affecting the compound growth on your money. It's amazing. I'm going to be going a lot more into depth about this in a future video, so make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that way you are notified whenever I do upload it. Now, because this fund is going to take a while to fill up, it's going to be the biggest fund that you probably have, you want to start investing at the same time, because with investing, time is on your side. So as a beginner, the best way to start investing is in the stock market, either through a Roth IRA, traditional IRA, or a 401k. But just know that stocks are not your only option. You can also open up an IUL. So with an IUL, your money is not directly invested into the stock market, but you do get market-like returns without any of the losses. It's really cool. I'm also going to be talking about that in a future video, which I'm really excited about. So with all this being said, I think what really makes a difference is having that clear savings goal with each fund. It's a lot more motivating to see that number, and each month seeing yourself get closer and closer to it helps so much with impulse purchases, because you know where you're trying to get, you know where you're at, and you know where you're trying to get. Like I always say, even if you have $5 in cash flow, start with that, because it's better than nothing. And ultimately, it's about the habit that you're building up, paying yourself first and growing that cash flow month after month after month. And the last point that I want to mention is that this strategy is meant to help you avoid debt. But not all debt is all bad. Like, for example, a business loan or a mortgage. This is mostly to help you avoid consumer debt, that really bad debt, that credit card debt with double-digit interest. We really want to avoid that as much as possible. And if you are already in debt, stay tuned for a future video where I'm going to talk about the best way to eliminate your debt that you already have fast, okay? So click here to see how you can save hundreds of dollars this month. Thank you so much for watching this video, and until next time, God bless.